A footrest, not a brake manifold, not a traction motor, a plastic footrest in the passenger cabin of a high-speed train. Alstom is one of the largest train manufacturers on the planet. It's a French company. They're the people behind the TGV, the famous French high-speed rail. And their AGV is the newer generation, a high-speed train that carries passengers around Italy at over 180 miles an hour, about 300 kilometers an hour for our international audience there. When Alstom needed replacement footrests for their AGV fleet, the quoted lead time was 180 days, 6 months, for a piece of molded plastic. And you can't really blame the supplier. I mean, that's just what happens when you ask traditional manufacturing for a part that it stopped making years ago. The tooling, it's gone. The production line, they moved on. They're making other stuff now. And nobody wants to spin up an injection mold for 12 footrests. Like, really? So Alstom ended up 3D printing it instead. The lead time went from 180 days down to 1 week. The costs dropped by 25%. And these 3D printed footrests are riding in trains carrying passengers right now. That one single part explains why the entire rail industry is turning to additive manufacturing. The story gets a lot bigger than just footrests. Here at Vision Miner, we help teams put high temperature, high performance 3D printing on their shop floors every single day. And rail might be the clearest case we've ever seen for what this technology is actually for, at least when it comes to end use parts. If you've seen our other videos, we talk a lot about how the biggest ROI in 3D printing is production tooling and jigs and fixtures and robot arms. So here's the core problem. A train will stay in service for 30, sometimes 40 years. The suppliers for the parts that it took to manufacture that train, they usually don't last that long. So over 4 decades, companies fold, tooling gets scrapped. I mean, who wants to keep a mold in the warehouse for 40 years just in case somebody needs another replacement part? Entire product lines get discontinued, and the spare parts that a rail operator needs come in tiny quantities on completely unpredictable schedules. So if you try ordering 12 armrests from an injection molder, they'll quote you a minimum run in the thousands, or charge you to rebuild that tooling from scratch. And that can be $20, $50, even $100,000 just for a mold to make one part. Either way, you're paying serious money and waiting months for it to be produced. Meanwhile, that train is sitting in a depot, not earning cash, not serving people. Rail operators figured out what actually matters in that math. The right part in the right quantity at the right time. Well, at that point, the unit price barely matters when the train is just sitting there doing nothing. So the numbers here actually get pretty wild. Deutsche Bahn has printed more than 150,000 spare parts since 2015 across more than 700 different applications using 12 different printing technologies. And these aren't all little plastic widgets. Their 100,000th printed part was actually a gear housing weighing nearly 12,500 pounds, or 570 kilos, and it was cast using a 3D printed mold. Siemens Mobility runs what they call virtual stock, more than 2,100 different parts that exist as qualified digital files instead of physical inventory, and over 31,000 printed parts sold to customers. At their Dortmund Rail Service Center, they've reported manufacturing time reductions of up to 95%. Now, Alstom prints almost 40,000 parts per year, shipping digital files from a digital warehouse to printing hubs that are nearby the customer. That pattern is the same everywhere. You could stop warehousing your physical parts for decades on end and store the file, qualify the process, and print the part when you actually need it. Now, my favorite story in all of this is actually kind of the smallest one. The first 3D printed parts that were ever deployed on an in-service passenger train in the UK were 4 armrests and 7 grab handles. Chiltern Railways, a project between Angel Trains, DBESG, and Stratasys. 4 armrests, 7 grab handles. That's it. That's literally it. It was arguably the biggest milestone in rail additive up until that point. Now, printing those parts was the easy part. The hard part certification. Anything inside a rail car, very much like aerospace, has to meet strict fire, smoke, and toxicity requirements. Now in Europe, that's the EN 45545 standard. Here in the US, the passenger rail runs on NFPA 130. But the DBESG ran comprehensive material testing to prove compliance before a single part was even allowed to touch the train. Now the material that passed all these tests was, of course, ULTEM 9085, a flame retardant, high temperature polyether amide that we've covered in plenty of our other YouTube videos. We've been printing it for years. Now, if you haven't seen those, we've got histories, print examples, and all sorts of stuff from the past decade. So go to visionminer.com or go to youtube.com/visionminer and just search ULTEM. You'll find a ton of content, everything from helicopters to robot tooling, you name it, we've got it. Now, Bombardier did the same thing in Germany. They actually printed a customized air vent system for a battery-powered prototype train in ULTEM 9085. That's right, Bombardier makes trains and planes. Good times. Production time dropped from 4 months to about 4 weeks, and the parts were fully EN 45545-2 compliant. And they were made more lightweight than the originals, which is a surprise benefit. So basically, once certification opens the door, it ends up going way past interior parts. Wabtec redesigned their train brake control hardware for metal additive manufacturing. 32 separate parts consolidated into one component, and the weight drops from 154 pounds down to 22 pounds. One operator can swap it onto the train in under 20 minutes. No special tools. What? It's crazy. I love 3D printing. So here's where this lands for everyone outside of the rail giants. Look at what's actually winning in rail, in trains. Low volume, certified, high performance polymers. ULTEM 9085 keeps showing up because its fire performance is already proven. It's got the FST rating for fire, smoke, and toxicity, plus a UL94 V0 flammability rating, and plenty of heritage to go along with it. But ULTEM doesn't print on your standard hobby machines like bamboos or Prusa's. You need well over 350 Celsius at the nozzle, you need a very hot chamber, and you need a seriously heated build plate. Now those Angel Trains parts ran on a Stratasys Fortis 450 MC. Beautiful machine, well documented, lots of heritage. Stratasys earned those rail deployments with 20 plus years of process engineering, and credit where it's due, they proved that this entire category was possible. The problem is, a 450 MC class machine runs well over 100 grand, and some systems go past $250,000. For a national rail operator, okay, fine, we'll get one. But for a machine shop, the transit agency, the maintenance depot who wants to start printing its own obsolete parts, that price tag is the whole barrier. And that's exactly why we built our 22 IDEX, which is printing glass-filled PEEK right now in the background. It's got 500 Celsius dual hot ends, so you can print any polymer on the market, an actively heated chamber over 100 Celsius, so you can print the high temp engineering materials, and a 200 Celsius build plate. So when you combine it with our nanopolymer adhesive, which is just our build plate glue that works on every 3D printer on the market, if you haven't seen it, check it out. So this thermal package is what we created to allow ULTEM and PEEK to be printed in any shop for an affordable price. The build volume is actually comparable to that Fortis 450 MC. Now it's an open material system, so you can buy ULTEM 9085, polycarb, or whatever material you want. You don't have to pay the licensing fees to run it on your machine. You get to qualify your own process. Now we're talking a fraction of the cost here. You could literally buy over 10 of these machines for the price of one Fortis. So the economics that work for Deutsche Bahn work even better when the printer costs less than 1 year of the service contracts on the bigger machines. So rail is adopting 3D printing because trains just happen to outlive their supply chains. And additive is the only economically sane way to keep a 40-year-old fleet running. At Vision Miner, we understand this, and we're dead set on getting these performance machines into the hands of every shop without breaking the bank, so you can get the maximum ROI that you could possibly get with the performance materials you need. So head over to visionminer.com/22IDEX for the full specifications and the material lineup, and we've got all sorts of spools of filament and different stuff that you can do, and you can talk to our team. So if you've got questions, not sure what to get, whatever, give us a call, shoot us an email. We're literally here to help, and we help people figure this out all day, every day. It's what we do literally to keep food on the table. So thank you so much for watching. Have a positive rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next one.